All right, let's talk about a piece of tech that's become absolutely critical for pretty much any organization trying to make sense of its data, the cloud data warehouse. We're going to break down what it is, why it's such a massive game changer, and how it came about to solve one of the biggest headaches in the tech world. Let's dive right in.
So, does this feel familiar? Is your organization basically trying to drink from a data fire hose? If you're nodding along, trust me, you are not alone. The amount, the different types, and the speed of information coming at us today is it's staggering. And it's a challenge that has pushed the old ways of doing things to their absolute breaking point.
To really get why the new solution is so great, we have to take a quick look back at the old one. The traditional data warehouse was actually a brilliant idea for its time. It was all about creating a separate, safe space just for analysis. This meant teams could dig through all that data looking for gold, those valuable patterns, without accidentally breaking the systems that run the day-to-day business.
But why was that separation even necessary in the first place? Well, it all started because of a fundamental conflict in how computer systems work.
Think about it like this. Your daily operations, all the sales, the inventory updates, customer records, that's all about writing new data, right? At the same time, you have analysts who want to run these huge, complex reports, which is all about reading tons of data. And trying to do both of those things on the same system? Oh, it was a recipe for disaster. Everything would slow to a crawl, things would crash. The data warehouse fixed this by basically giving the analysts their own dedicated sandbox to play in.
But then, the internet happened, and mobile phones. And suddenly, the data landscape just completely exploded. We weren't just talking about neat and tidy sales figures anymore. We slammed right into the era of the 3 Vs. First, a mind-boggling increase in the sheer volume of data. Second, a huge new variety of data pouring in from apps, social media, and all those connected devices. And finally, an incredible velocity, with all this data showing up faster than anyone ever imagined.
And yeah, that quote really says it all. This wasn't some gentle wave you could ride. It was like trying to get a sip of water from a fully blasting fire hose. The old systems, which were built for a much slower, more predictable world, they just couldn't handle it. It was pretty clear that we needed a completely new playbook.
So, how did we get from that chaos to where we are today? Well, it wasn't just one single invention. It was more like a perfect storm, a powerful combination of a few key technologies that all matured at the right time, making the modern cloud data warehouse possible.
So, there were a few key ingredients in this recipe. First up, you have the cloud, which gave us almost infinite, super cheap storage. Next, something called massively parallel processing, or MPP, which is a fancy way of saying we could now split a giant, complex job into thousands of tiny pieces and have thousands of processors work on it at once. You combine that with much faster hardware, like solid-state drives, and one last, really clever idea for how to store the data itself.
And that final ingredient is called columnar storage. Now, this is one of those ideas that sounds deceptively simple, but its impact is just massive. The idea is, what if instead of storing data in neat little rows, like a spreadsheet, you stored it in columns? It turns out when you're doing analytics, that one little change makes all the difference in the world.
Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say you run a gym and you want a list of all the members who have paid their dues this month. The old, row-based way would be like grabbing the entire file for every single member, their name, address, their workout history, everything, just to find that one piece of information. It's incredibly wasteful and slow. But the new column-based way, it just goes and reads only the payment status column and ignores everything else. That's it. The result is just a ridiculous boost in speed and efficiency. It's a total game changer.
Okay, so we've got this powerful new architecture. It's fast, it's efficient, but beyond all the cool tech, what does this actually do for a business? Well, the benefits are literally transforming how entire companies operate.
The impact is just huge. All of a sudden, you can use real-time data to personalize what your customers see. You can proactively spot quality problems before they become huge issues. You can free up your smartest people to actually analyze data instead of just managing servers. And maybe most importantly, it opens the door to real innovation, letting you tap into new data sources and finally start using things like machine learning effectively.
And this might be the most powerful idea of all. For the first time, your data stops being just a cost, something you have to store and manage. With the right platform, your data can become a product itself. It can create totally new ways to make money, shifting from a line item on the expense report to a real profit center.
So this all brings us to a fundamental choice that every organization faces today. Do you stick with the old school, traditional on-premises way of doing things? Or do you make the leap to a modern, cloud-native solution?
And when you put them side by side, the difference is it's stark. The on-prem model requires this huge upfront capital expense, or CapEx. The cloud is a flexible pay-as-you-go operating expense, or OpEx. The time it takes to get value drops from potentially years down to just weeks. And that complicated, manual, painful process of scaling your system, that gets replaced by an automated, elastic system that grows when you need it. The big takeaway here is that pretty much every single limitation of the old model is directly solved by the new one.
And what about the bottom line? Well, the total cost of owning a cloud warehouse can be just staggering. We're often talking as little as 1/10 the cost of trying to build and maintain a comparable system on-premise. It's a huge difference. Okay, so let's say you're convinced. The cloud is the way to go. But with more and more options popping up every day, how in the world do you choose the right solution for you? It's really important to look for a few key things.
So here's your buyer's checklist. You need to ask, does it have true elasticity? Meaning, can you scale up your computing power and your storage separately? Can it handle all your data, the neat stuff and the messy stuff, all in one place? Does it support the skills your team already has, like standard SQL? And of course, the big ones. Is it secure from end to end? Is it automated so your team isn't wasting time tuning it? And can it get data from point A to point B quickly? These are really the non-negotiables.
So, as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own organization. In a world where data is, without a doubt, both our biggest challenge and our greatest opportunity, is the infrastructure you have right now really built to handle not just the data of today, but all the data that's coming tomorrow?